the $660,000 AMG Hammer. Who would have thought? So last week, actually, I think it was Saturday. Was it Friday or Saturday? I don't know. I was on vacation in the mountains with my friend Eric, who's a subscriber to this channel, actually, but he and I have always been good friends, even before I had a YouTube channel. Eric and I were sitting around enjoying dinner in the mountains at this old house in Saluda that we were staying at, and the Hammer that has been floating on MB Market sold. AMG Hammer. What do I mean by AMG Hammer? Well, a real Hammer is a W124 that's had a 4-cam AMG version M117 V8 shoehorned into it. And years ago, I kind of learned what that meant when I rode in one of these cars that my friend Jonathan Hodgman has, where you can literally see where they used the hammer to clear enough room in the transmission tunnel to make the engine and transmission fit. So that's why they call it a hammer, because the hammer was the predominant tool they used to build it. But anyway, a 300 CE 6.0 Hammer sold on MB Market for $660,000. Now, did the guy who bought it pay too much? Is this because the cars are so rare? Is this the sort of sale that indicates like that money is becoming worthless and people are trying to park it in collectible cars or something, like they did in 2013 when they thought that there was going to be another big crash? I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about the first theory first. Most of the time when people speculate a big economic crash, they're usually wrong. So I've learned that. I mean, I know that a lot of people will get on this bandwagon of, because inflation rates are going up and subprime auto loans are, going sour. We're going to have a big economic crash, and that might motivate some individuals to park their cash in tangible assets. Now, with the inflation alone, I can understand that. In fact, I'm trying to put more cash into my business at the moment for things that I really need, like a new lift, before those things get so expensive that I can't buy anything like it anymore. There's an idea. So I can understand this point of view, but at $660,000, this car sold for approximately 1.5 times what I think these cars are worth. I always thought that a real world value for a Hammer sedan or coupe was like $330,000 to $400,000, and this is for a 124, not a 126. In fact, you could say that there are plenty of 126 coupes that have been modified with wide bodies and AMG engines. They're out there. All you have to do is write a check for somewhere between $275,000 and $325,000, and you can have your own needy, tired Japanese market 560 SEC AMG, complete with poorly wired in Recaro seats and the paint popping off of the fiberglass fender flares. But when you get into 124 Hammers, you're in a different territory. And so the 124 Hammer was built around the world. What I'm saying is some were built in Germany, some were built in Japan, and some were built in the United States. And this particular car was a product of Richard Buxbaum's AMG North America workshop. And so what happened was that it was documented and traceable, and one of the 14 Hammers built stateside. Now, which would I rather have, a Japanese car or a US car? Probably a Japanese car, because they built more of them, meaning the people who were doing it had a better handle on what they were actually doing. And I can corroborate this by saying that a lot of the 124 series cars that are built in Japan actually do work pretty well. They seem to work better than the 126 cars. They seem to be more legit. They seem to be more mechanically synchronous, like everything works, you know. Uh, Now, I'm not saying that it's a bad idea to buy one of the 14 AMG Hammer cars built in the USA, but what surprised me was that you'd think that a German-built Zuffenhausen Hammer would have brought $660,000. This is like the equivalent of somebody building a Mercedes hot rod with all Mercedes parts in the good old US of A and saying, here we go. Now, Hartmut Fail, who owns Rintech, was involved with this car, I'm sure. I haven't looked at the documentation, but I'm pretty sure he was involved with all 14 Hammer builds to some degree. So Hartmut gives a lot of credibility to this because you could actually ask him questions of the car, just like you can with Buxbaum, and they can look at the car and say, I recognize this car, I know what it is. But are we really in $660,000 territory here? I mean, come on, guys. You know. Now, there were some other comments about Jonathan Hodgman going on the MB market thing and creating a sort of pressure cooker where that divided potential bidders, where some bidders felt that Hodgman was trying to shill the car and other people felt like Jonathan was corroborating very important information about the car. I mean, I don't know. Jonathan is exposed to more of these cars than anybody that I know. So typically, like if he says something about one of the cars, it's usually verifiable, but you have to know what you're looking at to be able to verify it. So for those who said that he's shilling it, I can understand where you're coming from, but like if you can't afford an AMG Hammer, then there are plenty of other options available to you. You don't have to get mad and say, oh, somebody's shilling a car just because they're, you know, discussing why it's a unique and individual car and worth the extra money. So there may have been some outside influence, but I think that what happens is when you see this sort of thing and you see one or two people pushing a car, it will help foster a situation where you get two very vicious bidders that must have the car, and only the one with more money is going to win. And so I think that at the $660,000 mark, somebody basically just had more money than another person who wanted the car. And it became the question of, will another one of these ever come up for sale? Now, you want to know the answer to that question? Yes, it will. But how long do you have? And what kind of condition is it going to be in? You never know. You don't know if the next car that comes up is going to be better or not. So I can understand somebody paying for a car that's basically impossible to find. And I can also understand why some people might be angry. But, my friends, in the next video, I'm going to tell you how you can get a discounted AMG car. And we will pick that up in the next video, and we will talk about it later. So, in the meantime, please like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell for notifications. Enjoy watching the channel. And remember, there's nothing finer than a stock Mercedes. I can tell you this from, you know, my own experience. They always work and fit better when nobody's touched them. So, if you like cars that work well, go for stock. That's all. See you guys in the future.